So in this video I want to talk about what I think are some of the most fun monsters in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition at challenge rating 2. The first monster on my list is the Dragon Wyrmling. It's a monster we also mentioned in our list for CR1 creatures, and at CR2 we get access to even more Dragon Wyrmlings. Chief among these are the newer Dragon Wyrmlings from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, which includes Topaz Dragon Wyrmlings and Emerald Dragon Wyrmlings, for example, but also the metallic dragons that we get in the monster manual. And these Wyrmlings are just fun because they often have multiple different breath weapons they can use, some that deal damage or incapacitate or in other ways influence the battlefield. What I also really like about the new dragons from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons is that they also get some spells. So we have stuff like Minor Illusion or Bane on there, which these smaller Wyrmling dragons can use to be just a bit more dynamic and versatile in combat. Next on our list is a classic D&D creature, and it is the Gelatinous Cube. The Gelatinous Cube is not on this list because it's the most versatile or dynamic creature. It's really just a big square of goo that can only do one thing, and that is trying to engulf other creatures. It's on this list because it's just a really fun combat encounter, especially if you put it up against newer players who haven't encountered a Gelatinous Cube before. An important thing to note here is that the Gelatinous Cube, when it tries to engulf a character, the character can make a dexterity saving throw, and then they move 5 feet away so they don't become engulfed. So if a creature jumps back 5 feet to evade it, it can try again to engulf it, and so on. And that's part of what makes the Gelatinous Cube such a challenging and fun encounter, where the characters really have to think about their positioning and what kind of tactics they use. Of course, once the characters have figured out that you just kite the Gelatinous Cube around and stay out of its reach, the encounter becomes a lot easier. So it's not necessarily a creature you can use a lot of different times, but that first time you use it, it is something really special, at least in my opinion. The next monster on the list is something that I actually was in doubt about putting on here because it is just a devious and incredibly dangerous creature. The Intellect Devourer is a brain on legs that can jump up and bite and attack and stuff like that, but it can also permanently steal a character's intelligence and even take over their body, killing their brain and basically killing the character. So it's not necessarily a creature that I would put against second level characters or even third level characters, because characters at that level are not likely to have access to stuff like Greater Restoration that can restore intelligence, or the sort of spells that can actually put a brain back in a creature that has died. What makes the Intellect Devourer really fun is that even at higher levels, whether that's 5th level characters or 6th level or 7th level characters, it's always dangerous running into an Intellect Devourer. So while you need to be careful of when and how you use the Intellect Devourer, once you do use the Intellect Devourer, it's always a tense and fun and tactically challenging encounter. Next on our list is another classic of D&D, and it is the Mimic. Just like the Gelatinous Cube, the Mimic is not a very versatile or dynamic creature necessarily. It really only uses a pseudopod that can adhere to a target and then its bite, so its options in combat are quite limited. What makes the Mimic so fun is the look of surprise you get the very first time new players of Dungeons & Dragons run into that Mimic in the dungeon, and they think they found a chest full of gold, and they open it up and instead it's a chest of monster that is trying to eat them. Those encounters are always fun, they're always surprising, especially with newer players. Now, fair should be fair, the Mimic is not entirely one-dimensional because it has this feature where it adheres to a target, which gives it advantage on attacks and of course make sure that the creature cannot escape it. Fighting the Mimic may not be the most dynamic combat or the most tactically challenging, but there is a certain dimension of strategy as the characters must try to get free from the Mimic. You may have noticed that this list has so far been fairly short on humanoids, and that's for good reason, because basically the most exciting humanoids we do get in the books are just those that have spell slots, and that in itself is not incredibly compelling monster design. There is one humanoid creature where I think the designers have excelled, and that is with the Bard that we get in Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, because the Bard not only gets some very useful spells it can use, it also has a Thunder Wave inspired action where it can push creatures away, and it also has a bonus action Taunt, which it can use to make other creatures less effective both offensively and also defensively. So whether it's a villain for a party of first level characters, for example, or perhaps it's an ally to the characters who are heading up against an even bigger foe, the Bard is just a fun creature at a pretty low challenge rating that can be used in a wide variety of different situations and always have something useful to do in combat. Finally, to round the list off, we have another humanoid creature, and that is the Duergar Mindmaster. The Duergar Mindmaster excels above other Duergars at low CRs because it not only has the ability to become invisible and reduce itself in size, which gives it a great AC, it also has a sort of charming feature where it can briefly take control of another creature. Invisibility and Reduce allows the Duergar Mindmaster to be incredibly evasive and hard to pin down in combat, and then it can use this mind controlling feature to get player characters to attack each other or even jump off a cliff or stuff like that, which makes it a very versatile combatant that has a lot of different options in combat. So that's my list of fun monsters at Challenge Rating 2. I know that there is a lot of monsters that I didn't get to cover in this video. If you think I missed something particularly egregious, please let me know in the comments down below. This video was also chosen by our patrons over at patreon.com/Eventyr. So if you also want to have a say in which videos we make, you can head over there to become a patron, and you'll also get access to a huge archive of 5e encounters, adventures, and other cool stuff, and new 5e encounters every month. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot left to say, except thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I'll see you in the next video.